Every psychopath, by definition, is psychologically invincible. No matter how much you reveal their mistakes or prove their crimes, they will never stop proclaiming their innocence while celebrating victory at the same time. A psychopath doesn't feel guilt and has no concept of inner repentance. Instead, they stubbornly evade external shame with an unyielding resolve, defending with the ferocity of 1,000 lions the only moral asset they possess: self-love. The same self-love that a Christian systematically destroys daily by confessing his sins in an inner tribunal where self-deception does not escape unscathed, for the psychopath is the supreme good and the weapon upon which they rely to ensure their survival, their social ascension, and their success in the world. Even when caught red-handed, with evidence of their crime laid bare for the world to see, a psychopath will never admit, "I have sinned and I need forgiveness." They will never suffer internally for having done wrong, harmed an innocent, betrayed a friend, or cowardly attacked an enemy from behind. Instead, they will conjure up extraordinary rationalizations and subterfuges, appealing, if necessary, to the most contrived and artificial form of erudition, just to avoid surrendering. No tear of remorse will roll down their face, and no sincere apology will emerge from their mouth. If I had, even unintentionally, spread a malicious rumor as vile as the one about my alleged failure at the USP entrance exam, invented by Paulo Giraldelli and Bertone de Oliveira Souza about me, I would have felt so ashamed and humiliated before my own conscience and God that I wouldn't just ask for forgiveness from the defamed opponent. I would also lose all inclination to debate with him, except in the most amicable and respectful terms possible, if he, after such a betrayal, would still grant me that honor. This is the normal reaction of any human being, even one without religious faith. Religion can refine the moral conscience, but only when it exists beforehand. No religious conversion, by itself, will correct a psychopath. External oversight will be required to keep him within acceptable behavioral boundaries, or to change him internally, it would take nothing short of a miracle. Giraldelli and Bertone are clearly psychopaths. Mild psychopaths, those who probably wouldn't go as far as homicide, but who navigate through life with subtle, almost imperceptible petty crimes, fiercely defending themselves against any intrusion of moral conscience in a matter as important as the glory of their ego in the world. In a normal situation, people generally have some instinctive defense against these individuals. They vaguely sense that something is wrong and, without accusing them of anything, instinctively distance themselves out of precaution. The general moral confusion in the Brazilian mental environment in recent years has, on the contrary, favored the rise of thousands of these types to prominent positions in society. They become journalists, teachers, opinion makers, and often politicians and rulers. Two factors contribute to their success. The first is neurophysiological in nature. They lack moral feelings but can perceive and manipulate those of others for their own advantage. This happens because when confronted with situations that would normally stir their hearts, what activates in their brain is not the emotional areas, as it would in other people, but the linguistic communication area. With incredible ease, they dissolve the moral perceptions of others into a confusing paste of verbal subterfuges that block intuitive certainty and replace it with doubts and convoluted distractions, often beyond the logical analysis capacity of the average person. Groucho Marx famously satirized the situation with his line, "Who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes?" The second factor, a consequence of the first, is more sociological. Deep moral feelings are generally hard to verbalize. They remain hidden in the depths of the soul, only communicable in relationships of exceptional intimacy, where a look can convey more than 1,000 words. Seeing one's deepest and most authentic moral feelings being questioned, contested, or shredded by the arts of infernal logic is, for the vast majority of people, a terrifying experience. Thus, if they cannot instinctively avoid the company of psychopaths, they may end up yielding and submitting to the dominance of a more aggressive, faster, more malicious, and more skillful mind. When I write, I try to express not only what I see and feel, but also what my readers see and feel. Thousands of them send me messages like, "You said exactly what I was trying to say and couldn't find the words for." The psychopath, on the other hand, writes to suggest that you did not feel what you felt, did not see what you saw, and do not know what you know. And many times, they succeed in instilling in people's minds what I call the Tweety Bird syndrome. When I start a debate, I assume that my opponent, if not a paragon of honesty, is at least a normal person. I try to stick to the topic of the debate without paying much attention to the form mentis of the opponent. My readers are witnesses to the endless attention I give to the arguments of critics and opponents, even when they are obviously foolish. But when I realize that the debater is unbalanced and that the topic in question is not the true focus of his thoughts, but merely an occasional excuse for pursuing a neurotic compensation or expressing a genuine psychotic fantasy, I immediately stop the discussion so as not to further harm a mind already damaged. But if I identify something more severe, not just a mental illness, neurosis, or psychosis, but genuine psychopathy, then more than just halting the debate is required. It's necessary to alert the audience that we are all in the presence of a criminal.